Mark Snuffy says these words to Borrow. Before you're a soccer player, you're just a human. He asks him again, would you still like yourself if you stopped being a prodigy? Michael Kaiser, since the beginning of his life, has been a caged animal. Since his early childhood, he's been physically caged into a home of abuse, of trial, of nothing but hatred. A cage and a home without love. But ever since he's left that cage, he's had a mental cage on his emotions. When he could now physically obtain love, he emotionally discards it, because in the end, he believes that that's not what he needs. To be loved and to feel needed, that's something that comes out of malice, something that comes out of making other people's lives hell. He gains a sense of satisfaction from taking others down. But in the end, all of that's a facade. In the end, he's still the same little child who just wants to be loved, to feel love, to feel the joy of love no matter who he is and what he does, to be given bright and happy moments with others, whether he's a genius or not, whether he's a prodigy or not, whether he has something to give or not, he wants to feel loved. But the contradiction of Michael Kaiser is that he never allows himself to feel loved. He has the ability to, but he's been so mentally warped that he doesn't allow others to come into his lives. Instead, he invades someone else's. When Alexis Ness was most vulnerable, Kaiser took advantage of that. He used that. He built a bond with Ness. He made him into a pawn that Kaiser could use for his own satisfaction, his own glory. But what Kaiser doesn't understand is that this thing that he sees as a pawn is someone who sees him as a shining hope, someone who does the impossible, someone worthy of love. When Kaiser loses his podium, his ego starts to break. His fragile ego is there for all to see. But when Kaiser realizes that what he's been doing won't be working, he goes for another route. He decides to fully embrace his true ego. He looks deep inside himself. What does he really want? What has he been looking for? What has he been searching for this whole time? And the answer is to be loved. That's all he's ever wanted. That's all he's ever been searching for. But the problem with Kaiser is that he discards the person that loves him most in exchange for being stronger on the field. He's putting his career, his time as a footballer, over his goal, his desire, his wants. Kaiser's not putting himself as a person first. But the problem is that Kaiser never saw himself as a person. He saw himself as a piece of garbage, trash, something less than human, which is why he doesn't allow himself to see the human first, footballer second. The beautiful thing about Ness's final pass is that he's putting himself first. He's putting the human first. He's putting the boy who thought about dreams, about magic, about the unexplainable, and how footballers were the ones that casted spells, were the magic goers. They were the ones that did the impossible. He wanted to achieve that with this final pass. But one thing he hoped for was that Kaiser would share that dream with him. But in the end, Kaiser didn't. The one who did was Isagi. But the even better part was when Kaiser tried to rationalize why he lost. At first, Kaiser is looking at this from his holistic perspective. He thought that he used too much of his emotions and not his rationality, which is why he lost to Isagi and why he got his last pass from Ness. But then, the more he thinks about it in his restrictive form. He thinks that he let go of his malice towards Isagi, and that was the reason why he lost. He delved into the freedom when he should have been delving into more restriction, which is why he lost. But this most recent chapter showed the most beautiful thing, the real reason why Kaiser lost. And it wasn't because of his holistic or restriction aspects. It was just one simple fact. He was human. He was emotional because Ness is truly deep down someone he thinks and cares about. Whether he likes to admit it or not, it's something that is plaguing Kaiser's mind. The idea that he shouldn't be loved and that he can't be loved, it's still fighting against him, which is why throughout this match he believed that he needed to return to zero, go to his malice, when in the end, malice isn't something he should be looking for. It should be love, and that love is coming from Ness, who still believes in Kaiser, not the player, but the person himself, Michael Kaiser, human flesh and blood. Ness's aura is not blood cells because of his scientific background, but because he is Kaiser's humanity. Kaiser's flesh and blood is Ness. Kaiser's most soft with Ness. He's most vulnerable with Ness. He tells Ness almost everything. His dreams, his aspirations, he tells Ness. Ness is his human flesh and blood. And what Ness's next goal is to give blood and life into that impossible blue rose, to make it bloom, to make it sprout once more. And now Ness's next course of action for Kaiser is to bring life to him, to bring his humanity into him. Whereas Mick and Snuffy had their disagreements and differences because of how they see themselves as footballers and players, Ness tries to reconcile with Kaiser, not because of who they are as players, but because of who they are as people. Because Ness doesn't see Kaiser as just a player, he sees him as a person, the person that gave him hope, and now he wants to be the person that gives hope back to Kaiser, to give him love, to help him find his dream. In my opinion, what would be the greatest ending to Kaiser's current arc is him staying in BM with Ness. Kaiser not going to Real because he's not looking for fame, he's not looking for fortune, he's not looking to progress, but he's staying on Bastard because he's looking to stay and be the best with the person who was there with him from the start, with the person who truly sees him as a person who truly sees him as human, his one and only friend, Alexis Ness. Kaiser's arc of getting over his malice and the trauma of his father will end with him finally learning to accept love from the first person to ever give it to him.